We'll go ahead and call the July 21st meeting of the Salina City Commission to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Vanier.
Here.
Commissioner Joka.
Here.
Commissioner Larson.
Here.
Commissioner Peck.
Here.
Commissioner Perney.
Here.
I would invite everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now have a citizens forum, a time for citizens to come before the commission to speak on anything that is not on the official agenda. Seeing none, we'll go on to awards and proclamations.
Item 4.1, the days of July 25th through 27th, 2008 as the 28th Annual KKOA Lead Sled Spectacular Weekend in the City of Salina. Mike Harmon, on-site manager of the Best Western Mid-America Inn, will read the proclamation.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Proclamation, the City of Salina, Kansas. Whereas Custom Kemps of America, KKOA, Jerry Titus, founder and president of KKOA, expounds on the history of his organization, giving credit where credit's due. Before continuing, a possible explanation is in order, since what the heck is a Kemp anyway? Well, I'm going to briefly show. That's a lead sled. We call them Kemps. They're the old late 50s, early 60s, where you put the fender skirts on, you put the Continental kit on, and you made it look like a sled. And the reason why they call them lead, because back when we did it, we didn't have the fiberglass, we didn't have the plastics that they use now when you wreck your car or you want to change it. We had to use lead. We had to lead it in, and then we had to sand it down, and then we painted it, and then we sanded it down some more, and we painted it again until we got the finish we wanted. For those of you not fully immersed in customizing, the word Kemp is a 50 slang for all cars, having been deep roots in jazz and the beat generation. Dig? The term was brought to the forefront by popular cult by two individuals. Carl Kohler, through his humorous stories in a Carcraft magazine, and the jive-talking, cookie car-driven Dino's Lemon valet parking attendant Gerald Lloyd Cookson III, aptly played by actor Ed Burns in the comic series, or classic 50s ABC TV detective series 77 Sunset Strips. I'm sure everybody knows that one. So anyway, thus the cookie moniker for Norm Grabowski's Tea, the undisputed star of the show, at least for us guys. And this was a direct quote from Street Rodder, February 2008. Whereas the first lead sled spectacular was held in Wichita, Kansas roughly 28 years ago and has continued ever since, making it the oldest custom car show of its kind. Custom is spelled with a K, in tribute to the Barris brothers, who were responsible for getting the whole thing started into the world of teen culture during the immediate post-war years. Thomas Park and Salina, Kansas is now home. This year's 28th lead sled spectacular, Say Salina, Say Spectacular, July 25th, 26th, and 27th, will again find Jerry Titus, mayor of Kempville, where the population is cool, as again arranged for a spectacular show that will fantasize and entice the minds of young and old alike. Now, therefore, I, John K. Vanier, Mayor of Salina, Kansas, do hereby proclaim the weekend of July 25th, 26th, 27th, 2008 as the 28th Annual KKOA Lead Sled Spectacular Weekend, and call upon the people of Salina, Kansas to recognize and participate in this cool event.
What might we be participating in that weekend?
Well, Mr. Mayor, if I may say, again, I'll go back to the picture, and if you'd like a ride in a car similar to this, please contact me personally.
My insurance isn't that good.
But I think as this year and in the past, it's for the citizenry of Salina to come out and relive the past. There's some younger members of the commission that I can relate to. I tour with my son, and he is an artist in his own right, and he really enjoys looking at the cars. And I just think it's a great time for everybody. And it's right in Thomas Park. It's a nice location, and they do a nice job running their show.
Great. I have a signed copy of the proclamation for you. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I would like a picture of the client.
There you go.
Public hearings and items scheduled for a certain time.
Item 5.1, public hearing on the request for property tax exemption submitted by Great Plains Manufacturing Incorporated. Sub-item 5.1A, resolution number 086539.
Mr. Andrew.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, Commissioners, this is an application and a public hearing on a proposed property tax exemption. There's an application you have attached submitted by Great Plains Manufacturing, prepared with the assistance of our local Chamber of Commerce. And as part of this public hearing, the governing body is required to analyze the costs and benefits of the exemption. The city does have a procedure established to monitor compliance with terms and conditions of exemptions that are granted. And we are also required to notify the other taxing jurisdictions and to conduct an open public hearing. The notice of this hearing and the individual notification to the county and school district have been duly taken care of. And this request is for approval of an exemption for two major building additions. I think you have in your packets there a drawing or campus map of the Great Plains Manufacturing Campus. And they are proposing a 110,000 square foot addition for production and warehouse space to what they refer to as Building S1, which is located on Idlewild. And then they also have a proposed addition to Building S5, and that would be 60,000 square feet. That building is addressed off of Dewey Avenue. It is their anticipation that these expansions would result in the creation of 50 new jobs. There's also a small, in the southwest corner, proposed construction of a new human resource building. That is not part of this request, as that is exclusively an office use and would not be eligible for this type of exemption. But the two major additions would be eligible under state law for an exemption and also under the city's tax exemption policy. You can see that they would be eligible for 100% exemption in years 1 through 5 and a 50% exemption during years 6 through 10. The spreadsheet that's attached shows that based on their investment and their job creation, they are kind of off the chart in terms of their eligibility for 100% exemption due to the large new investment and creation of new jobs. If you are in agreement with the proposed exemption, after hearing any comments and additional information at the public hearing, the attached ordinance would initiate the tax exemption process. They would come back with a completion report when the two expansions are finished and their hiring is complete, and there would be an ordinance that would actually enact their 10-year exemption. I think with that, I'd be open to any questions. I know we have representatives from Great Plains here if you have questions of them or if they'd like to expand on their project a little bit.
At this time, I'll open the public hearing. Questions of staff? What is the time limit on construction? New construction and hiring of the
There's an
additional people?
18-month period from the granting of the resolution till when they need to file a completion report. And if they don't get everything built or don't have it complete, they can request an extension, but the policy that is in place allows for 18 months for construction and completion, and that's built into the resolution that's attached, which mean that by January of 2010, they should come back and file a report indicating their actual expenditures and a report on their actual hiring, and the actual exemption will be based on the results of that.
Thank you. Any other questions of staff?
Has this firm received this sort of exemption in the past?
I believe so on 2 occasions. One was a building that was referred to, I think it's the old Wyatt Foundry building, and they had one other exemption, but I think Ms. Salem or Mr. Hall could probably give the history on that a little better.
I was just wondering if they did, in fact, meet the new employment goals on those previous projects, and
I believe that
They still
those
ongoing?
were both eligible for the full 10 years that they were in place.
okay.
Other questions of staff? Public comment?
James Hall, 1525 East North Street. You guys have got a drawing in your map, in your packet that's attached. If there are any questions about where we're specifically building the additions, the 2 additions, I'd be happy to talk to you about any of that. Linda Salem, our Chief Financial Officer, is also here with me this afternoon. If there are any questions that she can answer, she'd be happy to do so as well. We appreciate you guys taking a look at this. We did do the previous project close to 20 years ago. It went well. This addition that we're doing to the Salina 1 building is directly west, ties directly onto the building that we worked with you on the last time. The other building that we refer to as the Salina 5 building is over to the east. We just finished a 15,000 square foot addition to that within the last 30 days and have received our occupancy permit, and we're going to add 60 more thousand feet to that.
Okay.
Who owns the land that is on?
Great Plains Manufacturing.
Okay.
Wait,
Both buildings or just one of them?
yes, it's all owned by Great Plains Manufacturing.
Okay.
Jamie, do you have any idea what the timeline is on hiring the people after completion?
They'll be coming along right. I mean, if this was done today, we'd have those people in there and they'd be working.
Okay.
We need those people and we need this addition.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any further public comment?
Your Honor, Dennis Lauver from the Salina Chamber of Commerce. Just grateful that we've had an opportunity with our staff to have been involved and help support this, as Dean mentioned, and we'd encourage your support of this significant local employer. And I just want to be grateful, echo the comments I made in the paper on Saturday, and thankful not only for Linda and Jamie and Mr. Applequist's leadership, but obviously the 1,000 employees that are company-wide doing a great job.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the commission.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to move that we approve Resolution 08-6539, granting the proposed property tax exemption to Great Plains Manufacturing, Inc.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 08-6539. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Consent agenda.
Item 6.1, approve the minutes of July 14, 2008.
Mayor, I move that we approve the minutes as presented.
Would you consider approving the consent agenda?
How about the consent agenda?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Development.
Item 7.1, Resolution Number 086540, accepting the dedication of a public street right-of-way and maintenance responsibility of an unnamed street in Block 24, the Schilling subdivision, and a request from abutting property owners to establish an official name for the roadway.
Mr. Andrew.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Commissioners, what you have attached to this packet is a resolution, and if that resolution is approved, that would be your formal acceptance of a dedication of public street right-of-way for a 60 by 475-foot strip of land that extends east from Centennial Road. That would also include accepting maintenance responsibility for that roadway, and the final action involved is that the owners in that area have come to some agreement and requested that that officially be named Copper Court. This roadway actually dates back to 1960. It was built by the airport to serve what was a liquid oxygen facility, or what was known as the LOX plant, at the far east end of the roadway. After closure of the base, there was a business located at that same location known as Dynamold, and there was a plan to provide it with a public road access to the east end of that roadway. There was a deed of dedication prepared, and there was a meeting of the Board of Directors of Salina Airport Authority where they voted to dedicate that to the City of Salina. As we noted in previous reports, for some reason that never got formally passed on to the City Commission for any action, or even city staff aware that that action had somehow given us ownership or responsibility of that road. There was discussion in 2006 about the status of the roadway, and there was an effort made to look at doing cost estimates and looking at possible upgrades to that road to bring it to a city street standard. Those costs kept escalating as different things were looked at in terms of a turnaround at the end and need for additional right-of-way. The owners determined that they did not want to participate in any upgrade. They wanted to leave the road in its current condition, so that benefit district concept has been abandoned. City crews have gone out and patched some potholes and done some overlay work on the roadway. The owners are requesting, in addition to giving it an official name, that the city take over maintenance of the street as is. So that would be an ongoing responsibility of the street department. Planning Commission's role was simply to look at the name being requested to make sure it did not conflict with any other street names in the city or county, and also the petition that we had only had 4 of the 6 signatures attached to it. We wanted to give the other 2 who had not signed it final opportunity to object or raise any concerns about the street. We did not have anyone appear at the hearing or provide any written correspondence. Planning Commission recommended that Copper Court become the official street name. So if you would concur with the acceptance of this strip of land as a public street right-of-way for maintenance purposes, and concur with the street name being requested by the property owners, then the resolution that's attached would formally accept the dedication of right-of-way and would place Copper Court on the city's official street map. If that action is taken, then some follow-up items would include the street division placing a street sign at that intersection indicating that that is Copper Court and Centennial Road. We discussed with the owners, those who are remote from Centennial Road would be readdressed with Copper Court addresses. And then there are still some utilities that are public but lie outside the 60-foot right-of-way area, and we would continue to work with them about getting easements acquired for those utilities. But this action today, if approved, this resolution would be recorded in the Register of Deeds office and would close the loop on this by making this a public right-of-way, providing a date under which the city agreed to take over maintenance and assign it a name. With that, I'd be open to any questions you have about the report.
Questions of staff?
How much was actually spent on improving the street? We originally were talking around 100,000.
You mean just the recent maintenance items that were done?
The overlay and patching that was done.
I don't recall exactly how much that was. Is it, I don't know if you recall that either.
Is it less than a new car or less than 100,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because it doesn't meet city standards, is this going to come back to haunt us later on?
I don't necessarily think so, because this is being done outside the plating process, and we also clearly have the fact that we had a deed of dedication, and the airport authority clearly thought in good faith that they had turned this over to the city as a public road. So I think there's enough uniqueness in history here about the way this happened that it's not a waiving or changing of any standard we would have of a street that would be created through the plating process, which is the normal way that we would do that.
Okay. Other questions of staff?
There's 6 properties that will have a possible 6 properties are going to have a name change. You mentioned that 4 of
Well,
them.
for sure, 4. The Harbin Construction has a Centennial Road address, and they have Centennial Road frontage, so they could retain that if they wish, and so could this building to the north.
Okay.
But as you get, this is Superior Plumbing, and then we have some businesses back here. Just for public safety and convenience purposes, we really need to get these addressed off of Copper Court, but these 2 with frontage, they would not have to change.
Well, you mentioned that they had a majority but not unanimous support. Are they just indifferent, or did they have a issue with this?
Well, that's why we reasoned that we had a public hearing in front of the Planning Commission. We did send letters to each of the owners and said, if we noticed you didn't sign, if you have any concern or objection either about the name or questions about possible change in address, we just did not hear any response.
So they're just indifferent?
I think they didn't have an opinion.
Okay.
Any other questions? Now, if I read this correctly, all we're doing is accepting the street. We aren't renaming it.
We would, this resolution also would assign Copper Court as a name, and that would appear on the city street map and on a city street sign, and would be used in the future for addressing purposes for those 4 lots.
Okay.
And this would be recorded in the Register of Deeds office, so as if it were a plat.
Is there any public comment? Not, I'll bring it back to the commission.
Mayor Vignard, move that we approve Resolution 08-6540, accepting the dedication of public street right-of-way and maintenance responsibility for an unnamed street in Block 24 of the Schilling subdivision, and a request from abutting property owners to establish an official name for the roadway.
Second.
Okay, and with this resolution, Mr. Andrew, we're naming the street Copper Court.
You are
is that
naming it
correct?
Copper Court, and after this, that will be recorded in the Register of Deeds office, so that will be picked up on any title work that is done in this area, and also will result in us placing a street sign at that intersection. And then, as a follow-up matter, once the street sign is up and it appears on city maps and our emergency response system, then we will work with them on those 4 back properties, giving them Copper Court addresses.
I should probably mention the official name for the roadway mentioned in the resolution would be Copper Court.
Right.
Yes.
Was there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 086540. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Administration?
Item 8.1, Resolution Number 086538, authorizing an agreement with Kansas Legal Services to provide legal defense services for the Salina Municipal Court.
Jason?
Thank you. Excuse me. The Salina Municipal Court is obligated to provide legal defense counsel for those who cannot afford to have their own attorney. We do this through a three-person panel. We've done it with a three-person panel since 2003 and think it works very well. So we have a contractual relationship typically with three separate attorneys. We had one of those attorneys step down recently, so we went through a process of soliciting interest for that position, and we did receive interest, but the only interest we received was from Kansas Legal Services. They currently do have an attorney on that panel, and so what this would do is this would allow them to have a second attorney on the panel. What we've done with the agreements with Kansas Legal Services is they would provide, what they would do is submit a name and qualifications, and I would review those qualifications. We do that because with that entity, it's a possibility that someone could come in and then later be assigned to do something else, so it provides a little more fluid process. It's worked real well so far, and so in this particular case, it would still be a separate attorney. We would still have, again, three different individual attorneys on this panel to provide those services. Provided a copy of an agreement with you that's been reviewed by the city attorney. It's very, very similar to the agreements that we've used in the past. The city attorney did tweak a couple items related to the appeals just to make sure that the intent is clear. It doesn't change the intent at all. And with that, we have a couple possible alternatives. One would be to approve the resolution that provides for the city manager to execute an agreement with Kansas Legal Services to provide legal defense services for Salina Municipal Court. And the other would obviously be to not approve that at this time. Be happy to take any questions that you might have regarding this.
Questions of Mr. Gage? Public comment? Bring it back to the commission for action.
Mayor, I'd move we adopt resolution number 08-6538, authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Kansas Legal Services to provide legal defense services for the Salina Municipal Court.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt resolution 086538. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. How much time will you need?
That's a good question. I don't know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes,
30 minutes.
everything.
Mayor, I move that the city commission recess into executive session for 20 minutes in order to discuss 20 or 30?
30.
30 minutes in order to discuss a personnel matter involving non-elected city personnel for the reason that public discussion of the matter would violate the privacy rights of the non-elected city personnel involved, and reconvene in this room at 5:03.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to go into executive session for 30 minutes and return at 5:03. Do you expect any action?
I do not.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We're in executive session.